If you have a Harley between the years of 1998 and 2014, then listen up. Precision Power has added some new head units to their lineup of digital multimedia receivers for Harley Davidsons. The HDHU.9813SG and RG. Now this is for older street glides and road glides between those years. So stay with us as we review and demo this radio. If you have an older street glide or road glide, then you know the opening is not a double DIN. If you've replaced your stock radio in the past, then more than likely you have just a single DIN non-LCD screen. With these radios, you actually get a 7-inch screen with modern features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So now you have an excuse to replace your old radio. Now both these head units currently retail for $999. And these radios are direct replacement and true plug and play, making installation a snap. Now these radios are packed with other features that we'll go over in this video. So the models again are HDHU.9813SG, SG stands for Street Glide, and HDHU.9813RG. Now RG stands for, of course, Road Glide. So they have the exact same features, except for the face is different. The SG pops out slightly, kind of like a floating panel style, versus a standard mount that the RG has. Okay, let's go over them. So they come with pre-wired plug-and-play harnesses, including hardware. IPX5 rated, water-resistant faceplate and glass. Now generally it means it's considered water-resistant, rainproof, or splash-proof. So if you get caught up in the rain, no worries, this radio can take it. 7-inch high definition with capacitive touchscreen and RGB illumination. Camera input with 12-volt trigger, wired Apple CarPlay and wired Android Auto, including Google Assist built in. It also has Bluetooth connectivity for audio and also phone calls. Customizable wallpaper and background via USB. Adjustable RGB buttons. For music playback on the USB, it supports MP3, WMA, AAC, and FLAC audio. 4-volt front, rear, and sub RCA pre-outs. 13-band built-in graphic equalizer. 50 watts times 4, and also 2-ohm stable. And these radios also retain the handlebar controls. Okay, now let's unbox. All right, so first we've got the owner's manual. All right, and in this bag we have our Bluetooth mic, the hardware that's needed to attach it to the factory brackets, and then the plug and play harness. So again, very easy, simple installation there. All right, let's take a look at this radio. This radio is actually really heavy. It's pretty massive. So it's made really well. You have your 7-inch screen here. Let me go ahead and just peel this off here. All right, so we have our 7-inch screen here, and then you have your buttons on the side. So you have your Apple CarPlay and Android Auto button here, the mic button on and off, volume up, volume down, and then the home screen. Now this is touchscreen, of course, but they do give you those hard buttons that you're going to be using quite often. That way you're not going through menus to try to find what you want. They make it easy for you to access those buttons. All right, now let's take a look at the side of this, okay? Because this is an interesting design. Now on the RG, it's built a little bit different. I don't have an RG here, so I won't be able to show you guys exactly how it's mounted. But let's go over this one really quick, because this one is definitely different than the RG. So you do have about a single DIN opening on the Street Glide. As you can see, the screen exceeds that single DIN opening. All right, and then you also have, if you notice, you have indicator lights that are up here, because the problem with this radio, in order to get a 7-inch monitor in the fairing, is those indicator lights would be covered otherwise. So the indicator lights on your Harley are going to be right above your radio. This is going to cover that, but they give that back to you here on top, okay? And that will function exactly the same way the factory indicator lights will. All right, so that is an interesting design. Now on the back of this, you have your main harness here, your AM FM antenna plug-in here, and then this is your USB input. All right, so this gives you the ability to use it as a flush mount. All right, so you can put that somewhere in the frame. That makes sense. And then you have your RCA pre-outs. You have front, rear, and sub. And again, these are 4-volt pre-outs. Behind this here is your Sirius XM plug-in. Then you have your camera plug-in here, along with the trigger. And this is going to be for the microphone. And then this here is the indicator plug in order to transfer the indicator signal onto the front of the radio like we just talked about. All right, so let's go ahead and fire this thing up. Okay, so this is the tuner screen. As you can see, you have your presets here on the bottom, and then you could tune here back and forth. All right, you can go to the EQ And the EQ is going to be a 13-band EQ if you want to adjust it. Make sure it's on custom, and then you would just touch the band you want to adjust and then just move it up and down like that. Okay, pretty easy. There are some preset ones: soft rock, pop, electric, and there's a few more. Okay, let's go back. All right, and then you can go into the settings, and the settings here is just for the radio. Okay, so let's go back, hit the home screen, and then from here you can select the source that you want to be on: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, radio, Sirius XM, USB, Bluetooth music, and then phone. You also have some buttons here on the bottom, so that will adjust the brightness, either nighttime or day. This is settings. You have your system settings here. Okay, then you're gonna go into language, date, key beep, camera, view, factory settings, about. I can't help but notice that the software seems to be very similar, at least it looks very similar to the Kenwood JVC. Not saying that it is, but it at least feels that way to me. Let's go ahead and go back into the display settings. And then from here, you can adjust the nighttime brightness. You can adjust the touch key color. You can go white, red, orange, yellow, or blue, or green, or purple, or cyan. So you have a lot of colors you can choose from, or you can just hit on and basically that's going to auto change for you. Or you can hit the auto changing color and that will cycle those colors through. Now the background wallpaper, you have a couple different ones that are already loaded, okay? So you can also add an image if you want on a USB. So that's kind of cool, so you can put the Harley logo on there if you like. All right, next we have audio and EQ settings. We have balance and fader. We have digital EQ, so that's the EQ that we just talked about. Then we also have crossover, so this is nice. So you have a crossover frequency, high pass and low pass, adjustable from 12 or 24 dB, and the crossover points are 60, 80, 100, 125, and that's gonna do it. Okay, so that does definitely look different than the JVC/Kenwood software. All right, next we have subwoofer setup. You have on or off, subwoofer level, subwoofer crossovers, okay? There's a subsonic filter. That's nice. I think that's pretty cool. So you can set that for your subwoofers if you're running a sub in one of your bags or both of your bags. So you have your subsonic crossover frequencies that you can choose from: 20, 25, 30, 40, and that's about it. Oh, 50, 60. Not that you would want to go this high, but there is that ability to go up to 60. And then your low pass crossovers are going to be the same, 12 or 24 dB, and the crossover points are going to be the same as well. Then you have your crossover phasing, either 0 or 180. All right, let's go back. All right, so you do have this amp turn on delay. So that's kind of cool. So if you do have turn on pop, you can turn on the delay so the stereo turns on first, and then it turns the amplifier on. When you have subwoofer pop, sometimes what happens is the amp turns on first, doesn't see a signal, and it makes that popping noise. So if you have that pop, then you can turn on the delay, and that will stop that. All right, next we have volume setting. So this is source level adjustment here. So every source here can have their own adjustment if you like. So let's say, for instance, the radio is louder than Apple CarPlay, then you can either turn the radio section down or turn the Apple CarPlay section down. Then you have maximum volume adjustment. All right, so you can turn that on or off. This is good, and let me tell you why. Because when you're riding around and you have the exhaust noise, you have the road noise, you have your helmet on, sometimes it's really hard to hear the speakers distort. So in this case, what you can do is put your bike on the kickstand, turn the volume up until you hear some distortion, and then you can be like, okay, it distorts at, let's say, 40. So I'm gonna set my maximum volume to 40. That way, when I'm on my bike, I'm not gonna go past 40 and damage my speakers, okay? So that is actually, I think, a very good feature. Okay, so that'll do it for the settings. So let's back out of here. You do have some Bluetooth settings, so that's pretty straightforward, so I'm not gonna go over that. It's not so important. This button will either show those shortcuts or not. Bluetooth, this looks like a disc to me. I don't know why it would have a disc. Oh, that's camera. Okay, my bad. I'm an old school guy, so that kind of looks like a CD to me. But it's for the camera, so if you wanted to access the camera, you can hit that, and that'll go directly to the camera, okay? All right. The last button is the EQ. We won't go over that. We already saw that twice. Okay, so let's hook up a phone real quick, and we'll just kind of go over Apple CarPlay and see how well it responds. All right, so here's our CarPlay. Hit that button there, and then here's our main menu. You can swipe. It seems to work pretty good. I like that. You can go into mapping, of course, Google Maps, Apple Maps, Waze, whatever you got. all right, and all your music apps are gonna populate on here as well. So in the past, you weren't able to even get a screen on here unless you maybe did one of the pop-up, you know, flip out units. And those are definitely not waterproof or weatherproof, I should say. So this gives you the ability to have a screen, it's weatherproof, and then you have the modern features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. All right, so let's take a look at Android Auto here before we wrap this up. So same thing, you have your mapping here. Now just as a reminder, these are not wireless. Both Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are going to be wired. Okay, that will do it. Okay, time for pros and cons. Pros, of course, the ability to add a 7-inch capacitive touchscreen to an older bike. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, 4-volt pre-outs, plug and play, built-in handlebar controls, and a nice bright display that's visible even during the day. And cons, price. But wait, the alternative is to buy a full front fairing replacement, which is about $500 with no radio. So if you factor that in with the cost of the Sony XAV-AX7000, which is the only double-din LCD radio that is semi-weatherproof, that's $650, then maybe it's not a con. If you're interested in either of these radios, we'll leave links in the description below. That'll take you directly to each product page. Now remember, we do have financing available. Simply add to cart, pick a financing option, get approved, and we'll send your radio out to you ASAP. Okay, that'll do it. My name is Josh. I'm with Breaker Stereo and Performance. Do not forget to like and subscribe. See you next time. Peace.